Damn, you guys hit that like go fast. But before we start this video, I want to give a huge disclaimer. Alright, so the disclaimer is I'm not always gonna just like leave the what if 30 minutes and just talk whatever I want to. It's just for these podcasts I will. I call this a podcast. So yeah, just pointing that out. This is not gonna be a normal like what if that I would normally do. So if you don't like these kind of what ifs, I suggest you click off this video right now. Okay, now that that's off the way, let's start off with the what if. Now, Hiruzen, this is like Hiruzen's era, so he lives like, he grows up, like, he's like 5 years old with Danzo. Now, Danzo, follows Tobirama's route in power because he's just like Orochimaru. He always wants to be powerful and wants to have, like, good for the world. Like, he, was born with like Danzo was born with Tobirama's genes in this what if, because like he just wants to protect the village. That's one thing, but more importantly he cares about his power and his seat in office and like just his beneficial. He's kind of like want to become a powerhouse and that rule over the Hidden Leaf Village and then rule over the world. So Danzo grows up to become a powerful shinobi like Tobirama, or like wants to become a powerful shinobi like Tobirama. That's his dream, but he keeps that a secret because he also knows that Tobirama is like a rogue ninja, an S-class rogue ninja, the biggest threat to the Hidden Leaf Village ever possible, and even bigger than Kakuzu, who almost tried to kill Hashirama and almost succeeded. Now, in this timeline, Danzo becomes even more evil and wants to have like a philosophy of ruling over the world and just cashing out everything there is and conquer the world. So he wants to find Tobirama and maybe like after that he wants to become like his successor or his powerhouse once Tobirama gets older. But he sets that emotions aside and he secretly goes to the place where they seal like the scroll of sealing and always learns new jutsus from Tobirama, like for example the reanimation jutsu, some cool blasting moves that Tobirama invented, and he comes across the two fleshes of light style and shadow style and creating two forms out of nothing and then creating into one, and he learns about the Rinnegan and he's quite intrigued by this and wants to learn more about this. So he learns more about how to do this, and he said he needs Hashirama and Madara DNA. So what he does is invite Hashirama and Madara for a cup of tea just to thank them, and like he's like 10 or 15, he's like in his 15, so like he's a kid, right? So like they don't want to like say no to that, so they come for a cup of tea, and yeah, he gets their DNA from their cups. So growing up, technically Danzo has like a foul hatred for the Hidden Leaf Village for banishing Tobirama, who wanted to do good over the world and become the ruler, and he likes that philosophy, and he's really he has like a huge admiration for Tobirama. No homo, but whatever. Danzo, he also like doesn't like anybody in the Hidden Leaf Village, but always has a smile on his face, even though he doesn't like to show it. Like Hiruzen, he wants to catch up to Hiruzen as well first, and he also wants to tell Hiruzen his dream because they're like best friends. It's a Naruto and Sasuke friendship, except Naruto is technically stronger, but forget that. Hiruzen and he wants to share Hiruzen his dream, but I don't think he thinks that Hiruzen is like not ready yet for that, and he wants to keep it a secret, and he thinks that Hiruzen will join him because he's his friend, right? So he would join, but little does he know that Hiruzen has the will of fire, just like Hashirama and Madara. Danzo is addicted to reading one of Tobirama's scroll ceilings to learn all the jutsu about him, and he wants to learn more about Tobirama, how he was like, how he slept. He just wanted to know everything what Tobirama did. He was just obsessed with knowing what Tobirama did to gain this power. He was obsessed with power, and more importantly, he wanted to join Tobirama, which was already false. Danzo didn't know this at the time, but he has another motive. He just wants to rule over the world, and become Otsutsuki as a degree. Danzo actually does know what the Otsutsuki clan is because of Tobirama. Like Tobirama survived and everything, but he's like weak, and Danzo actually knows this, and he just wants to find where Tobirama is so he can help him out with everything, and also just do all these small basic stuff for him, and then help him conquer the world and give him power that he will acquire later on. He thinks of him as God, like Yagami and this supporter. I forgot his name, whatever. It doesn't matter, but he just thinks of Danzo as a god, and he'll do anything for him. He's like an extremist. Hiruzen is catching on to what Danzo is thinking about from reading all the scrolls. He saw him read all the scrolls because one time when he was looking for Danzo, he saw him reading about Tobirama's scroll, and he could basically think or see that Tobirama is just thinking about how to become more powerful and how to save the world. Hiruzen doesn't totally admit that he actually saw what Danzo was doing, but he wanted to wait to see what Danzo's philosophy was. And he asked Danzo, "Hey Danzo, what do you think about the hidden leaf?" Danzo was struck-minded. He didn't know what to say. He just didn't know if it felt right to say that the hidden leaf village is the greatest place of all time. He just didn't think that. But he knew he had to say that, but he didn't know what to say because he didn't feel right saying it. He just felt like a numbness in his heart to the Hidden Leaf Village. He resented it. He thought the Hidden Leaf Villages was the reason why Tobirama is such a weakling now and just a coward to come back. He resented God. Or not. He resented the person who hurted his God. Hiruzen and Danzo were reading each other like a book. They didn't even have to think. They just had to look at each other just by knowing what they're saying. Hiruzen was saying, "Danzo, you have failed. I thought you were the greatest shinobi of all time. I thought you would be the one with the most potential out of all of us. I thought you would guide us. But you are following Tobirama," is what Hiruzen was thinking. Danzo was thinking, "Hiruzen, you don't understand anything. Danzo, or Tobirama, is my god. Tobirama is the one who should lead this village. Tobirama should be the one who does everything. Tobirama is the one who should conquer this world," is what Danzo was thinking. But they didn't know that they could read each other's mind like that. But they just knew that they knew what they were thinking. So my analysis on this is that Hiruzen and Danzo, they both hate each other, but at the same time they are best friends because in mind they hate each other, but in personality in the outside they actually think they're friends. Cause in mind Hiruzen hates, he resents Danzo just like how Danzo resents the Hidden Leaf Village. Therefore he resents Hiruzen. He just curses himself to Danzo because he's also from the Hidden Leaf Village. He hates Madara and Hashirama the most, and he wants to kill them and get vengeance from Tobirama because that's what he thinks is right. Now, Danzo is one of those people who think they're the right ones and no one else is better than them. So, yeah, Hiruzen and Danzo will have a feud later on. Hiruzen and Danzo basically know that they're gonna have a battle to the death to see who wins. Danzo thinks he's gonna win, and Hiruzen thinks he's gonna win. So, Danzo and Hiruzen's relationship changes. Now, Danzo and Hiruzen were the best friends when they were kids, but as adults, they started drifting apart. So, the reason why is because Danzo went into the dark and Hiruzen was in the light. So, in this timeline, they want to just keep it aside. They want to keep preferences aside because this is Tobirama. In the original timeline, they both looked up to Tobirama and they had a different thought about him. But Hiruzen doesn't like Tobirama in this timeline because he thinks he's a devil. And Danzo likes him, and Danzo wants to follow him. So that's what troubles Hiruzen. But he can't really hate Danzo for that because that's Danzo's opinion. Well, he can't just struggle to hate him. So they admired the same person in the original timeline, but in this timeline, that's not how it works. So, yeah. Time passed and Danzo was 30 years old, and Hiruzen was also 30 years old. They both were looking like they were best friends in the outside, but in the inside, they were hardcore enemies. Hashirama and Madara are at their low point in power level. Their Hashirama is 1,200 because he's old. He's 98 years old, and Madara is 97 years old. So yeah, that's the problem. By the way, Hashirama and Madara are both the same power level, so just to point that out. Danzo thinks it's the perfect time to strike to kill him because Danzo over the years have studied Tobirama's powers instinctively even more than how Orochimaru did in the original timeline. This way, Danzo will groom Orochimaru to become a skillful warrior, which he will come across later. But in this timeline, Danzo is really into Tobirama. He just is obsessed with it, bro. Like every mission, he thinks, why can't I just be Tobirama and do what he thinks he should be able to do? He just wants to think like Tobirama. He just wants to be like Tobirama. He just obsessed with Tobirama. And one day, he was hit under a boulder and Hiruzen had to leave because he was about to die. And he couldn't save his old friend, even if he wanted to, because there was 3,000 shinobi. And Danzo knew he was going to die. Except he saw an old man who looked a lot like Tobirama. And Danzo started screaming, but was also happy once he realized that was Tobirama he was looking at. He's like, yo, you're Tobirama, bro. Yeah, and then but Tobirama let Danzo go for now and then said, meet me later once you're 60 years old. Madara was Danzo was kind of confused because wouldn't he die once he was 60 years old? But then Tobirama said, I have Zetsu tissues which power me up. I'm waiting. Just wait for 30 more years, Tobirama thought. Then I will get to meet Tobirama, my god, the person who I live to become. After that day, Danzo couldn't even sleep correctly. He couldn't eat correctly. He just couldn't wait till 38 years. He just felt like going older and older and older each day. That's what extent he felt like to meet Tobirama again. That same day. He wanted to relive that day over and over and over and over again. And then he got an idea. He knew this jutsu called the Izanami. And he remembered he had Madara's DNA so he can get the Sharingan and then the Mangekyo Sharingan. So that's what he did with test subjects and tubes and got the Izanami. And then he relived that day over and over and over and over and over again. That's how obsessed Danzo was. Now, I think Danzo could be this obsessed because the reason why Danzo even went dark in the original timeline was because Tobirama died and he was shook and he didn't want that to ever happen again. So he wanted to become a ruler and that just obsessed him like crazy. And it just made him into a different person because he gained power. Now, the thing is that when Danzo uses Izanami, Tobirama can correlate each time with his quiz passage and correlation puzzle, and he uses his consciousness to always relive the time again, and with that gave him Izanami to talk to Danzo every day, every time Danzo uses Izanami to relive that day. And Danzo figured out some plans to do to revolt. So his first order was to kill Hashirama and Madara. So that's what he does. So he goes one day, he trains, and also waits till they're off guard. Because even though they're old and still weaker, they're still pretty strong, even for Danzo. Because Danzo's only 35, and his 35-year-old power level isn't high. So he just has to he has to wait till their guard is off. So, one day when their guard was off, Hashirama and, Madara, get attacked by, Danzo, and, they actually, reacted to this, even though they were off guard, and they actually survived both the Hashirama's wood style and Danzo's Susanoo, rib cage. And, Danzo was quite surprised, and then he had no choice but to just kill them now because he can't just escape from that because he really needs to fight them. Either he dies or he lives like a coward for the rest of his life in jail and never get to meet Tobirama again. But he remembered he had Izanami, so he recreated time and he never tried to attack Madara and Hashirama again and he rewinded time, not by just for him, but the him and everyone in the surrounding, which made them lose their memory. All right, this is actually possible with DNA because like he had to exert a lot of chakra for this to happen, but he still did it because that's how dedicated he is to meet Tobirama. And Danzo figured that he needed to wait more and train more, and Tobirama and Madara and Hashirama just get weaker and weaker, and that gives him more steps to meet Tobirama once more for real. And well, he did meet him again and again and again, but like not through genjutsu or any illusions. So yeah. So the rest of the storyline would go normal. Like Hiruzen would live to hate Danzo, but he can't really do anything because he was seeing what Danzo did. But like he has nowhere near the same power level as Danzo, because Hiruzen reached his prime at 40. So that's the peak of his prime. So he's still not there yet. He's still freaking kunai level, kunai shinobi level. So yeah, that's kind of sad. But anyways, Danzo also saw Hiruzen, but like, see, this is the same thing. They have to act like they're best friends. Like they think they're best friends, but deep down inside they know they're enemies. Like half of a part of them says that I hate Hiruzen, and the other half says I hate Danzo, I hate Hiruzen, I hate Danzo. So yeah, that's their correlation of madness. So yeah, a lot of things go as planned as what like Tobirama wanted. So like he was also trying to use Danzo because he figured like he was a follower of Tobirama and lived his will. So he thought he was great, but Tobirama learned from Zetsu to manipulate people. That's what also Obito learned from Zetsu, to manipulate someone's darkness in the original timeline. So Danzo is in a way a follower of Madara, like, but in this timeline it's like Tobirama is the villain, and yeah, at a point Tobirama like will die and stuff, but like not yet. And it's gonna just go as the same way. Like Tobirama's gonna be like the Madara, and Hashirama and Madara are gonna act as Tobirama and Hashirama in the original timeline. So that's how it's gonna go. It's just that Tobirama in this timeline becomes the evil dude that no one likes. But other than casting that aside, Madara and Hashirama's life, they just felt like there was something missing in their time of life just for a few minutes. So Hashirama and Madara used their Genjutsu Sharingan. Oh yeah, Hashirama does have Genjutsu because like he has a piece of each tailed beast. And then it just gave him the Sharingan. So yeah. So they just used the Sharingan to check what was going on, because like he just didn't know they were just like didn't know what was going on, and they kind of felt sketchy, and they lived Danzo's memory. They saw Danzo's memory after recollecting their consciousness, because they just used their Genju. They used basically what they did was use Genjutsu on themselves to figure out what was going on. So basically, you could do that by like making a shadow clone for yourself, and then that shadow clone can use Genjutsu on you to live all your experiences. So that's what Tobirama and Hashirama did. So Tobirama was planning out everything to influence Danzo to become more and more and more fatigued, and not be able to sleep and just think about him more and more and more, just to like make him completely attached to him, so that once he manipulates him to the core, that he just feels this pain, that he reveals this power like of explosion that will like catastrophically destroy like everything in the leaf, like everything in society. And Danzo basically has like Sasuke's philosophy of trying to rebuild the world and conquering it again. So that's what that's what Tobirama wants Danzo to do. And he's like a human weapon shield. And when Tobirama actually implanted something when Danzo was unconscious. He implanted a ticking time bomb that he created from chakra. And once Tobirama dies, it like destroys everything. Or once he dies and then becomes revives, it destroys everything. So they have to deal with that later. So the main goal is to not like let Tobirama get revived. So this makes Danzo need to know the reanimation jutsu, because he needs to know how to use the reanimation jutsu in order to do like basically anything. And Kaguya is actually not going to return in this timeline, but Momoshiki and Kenshiki will at the point, but not like now, because Kaguya is not like sealed. She's dead. Like she's dead. Like No, like she's dead. So yeah, sorry to be Kaguya, but whatever. Then you have these other people like Hiruzen, who's trying to beat Danzo. So so at a point Hashirama and Madara like stepped down as Hokage. Like Hashirama stepped down and then Madara became Hokage. So then the third Hokage is gonna be Hiruzen. Now Madara and Hashirama did not banish Tobirama yet because they don't know who did something to them or attacked them. They just knew somebody attacked them. Because Danzo was wearing a mask. I keep saying Tobirama. Dang it. So Hiruzen becomes the Hokage. Yay. So the first thing Hiruzen does was banish Danzo. Now everyone was surprised. Why would you banish Danzo? He's like a good friend. He's your good friend. Everybody was so confused. But then Hiruzen spilled the beans. Danzo was the one who attacked Madara and Hashirama. One day Hiruzen's mission was to stalk Danzo, or just like keep an eye on Danzo because of his foul mood on the Hidden Leaf Village. The third Hokage, Hiruzen, gave a mission to some shinobi, the third Hokage, to check on Danzo, on what he's planning, because he's kind of confused, and it seemed like Danzo was waiting to be 60 years old for some reason. So he wanted the best stealth tracker to go and check Danzo and whatever his motives are, and that was none other than Kagami Uchiha with the Sharingan. So Kagami figured out that he was talking to Tobirama, but then Hiruzen went to tell him to check again, but then Kagami died this time because Danzo killed him, and Hiruzen was furious, like he was boiling with rage that Danzo killed Kagami Uchiha. And then once Danzo and Hiruzen had their final fight as 30-year-olds, they went to a huge fight, and Danzo obviously lost that fight. So let me tell you how the fight went. So Hiruzen stabbed Danzo. Danzo used Izanami and went out, but Hiruzen stopped it by using a time travel jutsu to stop time in general, and he controlled the timing of the Izanami and then sealed Danzo away, and he was like Kaguya. Now, this was just like the real main body of Danzo, but there was also wood clones that had Danzo's motives. So yeah, the wood clones were still alive, but those wood clones are basically powerless. So Danzo's wood clones and Tobirama were planning something very vicious. They were planning on sealing the entire world with Chubaku Tensei with the Rinnegan, and then exploiting all the power in the world, and then creating a new world with them ruling it. But Tobirama didn't allow that, and at the end killed Danzo's wood clone in general, but Danzo's wood clone used Izanami, and then attacked Tobirama. Tobirama dodged. Then Tobirama used a kick, and the wood clones then used Izanami again. Then Tobirama used his Izanami thing that counteracted the Izanagi, and the wood clones all died. And Tobirama had to look for a new host to help him with it, and he sought out Kagami Uchiha. And Kagami Uchiha was indeed alive, and he wanted to just manipulate Kagami Uchiha. But Hiruzen wasn't allowing that and killed Kagami. Oh yeah, and by the way, if you're wondering about Madara and Hashirama, they're both basically, they're not dead or anything, but they're just like these old guys, like they're like freaking what's the name? Those two leaf elders in Boruto. Like, that's how old they are. So, yeah. They're probably gonna live till Boruto, and then they'll probably die after Boruto. Or actually, they'll die in a couple of years, because then we need the new and reincarnates of Ashura and Indra. So, yeah, Hashirama and Madara die. And Hiruzen was really sad that Hashirama and Madara died, because they're the ones who led him to everything, but he knew their time came because of how old they are anyways, so Hiruzen didn't mind much, and Hiruzen was already in his 40s. and he had to find some new descendants since Jiraiya, Orochimaru were sprouting. Orochimaru had also spoke with Danzo before in his 20s, and they were also plotting something more vicious than the original. And Orochimaru did have test subjects indeed, and Orochimaru did know that Tobirama Senju was still alive, and he wanted to live like Tobirama Senju. Orochimaru was determined to take light Danzo's light Danzo's torch again and become his new replacement and become the new Danzo Shimura. And now he is going to abandon the Leaf Village. But Hiruzen doesn't want that to happen. He doesn't want an old comrade like Danzo for that. So, yeah, I'm going to stop with the script style. Now, let's talk in general. So, I mean, like, Orochimaru, like, he wants to go by Tobirama just like the original timeline. So Orochimaru like learns the reanimation jutsu and all these shenanigans. So Orochimaru does leave the village, but he doesn't die. And Tobirama actually faked his death because he knew he couldn't like do anything anymore. So he just like fakes his death, and Orochimaru is basically the new Tobirama essentially. I mean, not Tobirama, Danzo essentially. So yeah, and the person who's gonna be there to when like Obito's under a rock and lives under a rock, that's gonna be Orochimaru, like an old Orochimaru. So yeah. So Hiruzen's still mourning Hashirama and Madara's death. And also Jiraiya learns Sage Mode, and this Sage Mode is like way more advanced. So yeah. And I'll meet you guys next time in the next What If. The like goal will be 162 subscribers and an easy 6 likes. So, not a 6 likes, but 10 likes. So, yeah, break the like goal. It's not that hard to break. So, yeah, bye everyone. One more thing before I go. I want to know this in the comment down this below. Do you want me to make more What Ifs like with other animes and branch out? And also, do you want me to make like videos that don't regard what ifs, like explaining powers or do power level videos? And comment down that below, because I'm kind of interested if you guys want me to like branch out my anime channel. And also comment down below if you think I should bring back my skits or not. So yeah.